Hey everybody, it's Miss Dawn here. Welcome to Sewing Club, and today I'm going to show you how to make an Among Us plushie. First thing you want to do is cut out all of your pieces. Then you want to trace it on your fleece. The best thing to do is to cut out a piece of fleece that's going to fit the body, fold it in half so that you will have two equal pieces. Then you want to trace with a marker or a pen. When you cut out your fleece, make sure you cut around your Sharpie line. But first, you want to take one piece and cut a slit in it, and it should look like this. This is how you're going to flip it inside out. Take both pieces of your body and clamp it together so that when you sew, it won't come apart. Please ignore the color change and just pay attention to my stitching. So we are going to do what is called a running stitch, kinda. My running stitch is going to look a little bit differently. If you want to do a traditional running stitch, you can, but I'm going to do one stitch and then I'm going to come back to the top a little bit past the stitch, and then I'm going to go backwards. Now, a traditional running stitch, you would just keep going with that same first stitch, but I'm not going to do that because I want to make my plushie a little bit stronger. So I don't know the exact name of this stitch, but as you can see, it is a little bit different than a running stitch. You can stitch it however you want, but this is how I'm doing it. Also, use your Sharpie line as a guide to stay straight. Eventually, you're going to run out of thread and you're going to have to start a new piece of thread. And so I'm going to show you how to close a stitch so that your plushie won't come undone. But it is important that you leave yourself an inch or two of thread to close off your stitch, because if you only leave yourself a little nubbin, guys, you're gonna have a problem. So as you can see, I made a stitch and then I'm going to pull it through the stitch. So watch, here I go. I'm gonna pull it through like that and unhook it from my clip there, sorry. And then I'm just going to do that a couple more times. Or you can just kind of do like that. Just kind of run your needle under your last stitch and then pull it through, and do that a couple of times any way you can to make a knot so that your plushie doesn't come undone. And then once you've closed the stitch, you rethread your needle and you keep going. Flip your plushie inside out by the slit that's in the front, and then you're going to stuff it. As much stuffing as you want. Use a pencil to kind of push the stuffing into the corners. Now you want to sew a blind stitch to close up its backpack. And to do that, just kind of press it together. It's not going to be neat, you guys, especially if you're new to sewing. Don't worry about that, because you're going to just put that part on the bottom. So you want to take a little piece from both sides and just stitch upward. And the idea is to just stitch it closed, and it's called a blind stitch because technically you're not supposed to see the stitch. But remember, it doesn't have to be perfect, just try your best. Once again, close off your stitch, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my needle through the back of my plushie. In a second, you'll see in a second. Like that. I pull through the back, and then I'm just going to cut that little piece of thread. That's just so the thread hides inside of the plushie. Now it's time to make the goggles. So take one piece of the white, and then you're going to make a running stitch. And you can make the stitches really wide. So just watch how I make my stitches. Then you're going to lightly pull on the needle so that it bunches up. And make sure the part with the Sharpie is on the inside. You're going to put some stuffing in it, and then you're going to pull the needle until it bunches. And if you need to take some stuffing out, take some out or add more. With the remaining thread, you're going to sew it onto the body of the plushie and just sew it on there, stitch it on there as best as you can, and you want to try and hide the stitches. So just watch how I do it. To get rid of all of those pieces of thread, I'm just going to go from the goggles through the back of the body. Remember to close up your stitch. Always close your stitch. I'm just going to push the needle through the back of the body and cut it so that way the thread is hiding in the body of your character. Now it's time to sew on his backpack. So put the blind stitch part, the janky looking part that you sewed, on the bottom, or have it facing down and not up. And then however you can, just try to get in there in between and just sew it to the body of your Among Us character. It doesn't have to be perfect. You have two plushies, so just in case you mess up on this one, you have another one where you could make another one. And you're all done. You can use the scraps to make little hats or the egg on his head, or you can use the white fabric for your second plushie and make the bone that sticks out of his head. Don't forget to send us pictures so we can send you the next project in January. Bye bye.